Hi friends, today we're going to work with our vocabulary for our new story, Click, Clack, Moo, Cows Who Type. So our first vocabulary word is understand. These children talk to each other with their hands. They understand sign language. So understand is when you know something. So you understand it, you know it. Okay, ready? So understand, you know it in your brain. Understand. Your second word is gathered. The students gathered around the computer screen in order to see this around the computer in order to see the screen. So gathered is you kind of like make into a group. So we're going to say come together because if you gather, you're coming together being in a group. Ready? Gathered. Come together. Okay? So understand, gathered, come together. Number 3 is impatient. This girl looks impatient. She is tired of waiting so long. Okay, so impatient is tired of waiting. So you can cross your arms, look annoyed, tap your foot. You're tired of waiting. So you can even like say in a sassy voice, impatient. Tired of waiting. So understand, gathered, come together. Impatient, tired of waiting. Number 4 is impossible. It is impossible to hear when there is so much noise. And we're going to say cannot be done. If something's impossible, it cannot be done. Ready? Impossible. Cannot be done. So understand, gathered, come together. Impatient, tired of waiting. And impossible. Can't be done. Number 5 is believe. People clap if they believe or feel someone has done a good job. So if you believe something, you feel it in your heart, right? So believe, we're just going to go like this. Believe. So it's in your heart. You feel it. So you have understand, gathered, come together. Impatient, tired of waiting. Impossible, can't happen. And believe. All right, number 6 is problem. Raise your hand if you have a problem or need help. So problem is something that needs to be solved, but we are going to think about it in terms of questions, in terms of school. So a problem needs to be solved. So let's just say that. Let's say problem needs to be solved. Problem needs to be solved. So you have understand, gathered, come together. Impatient, tired of waiting. Impossible, can't be done. Believe and problem needs to be solved. So we have 2 more. Demand. These lights and sirens demand that everyone get out of the way. So when you demand or when something demands something, it's you insist on it or they have to do it. So if you demand, say you have to do it. It's you're demanding. Demand. You have to do it. Because you're insisting. You're saying you have to do it. So you have understand, gathered, come together. Impatient, tired of waiting. Impossible, can't be done. Believe, problem, needs a solution. And demand, you have to do it. All right, and then the last one is furious. Babies cry when they're angry. This baby is furious. So if you're furious, that's another way to say angry, but it's like even a little bit more angry. It's like very angry. So I want you to make the angriest face you can and say, I'm really mad. So you're furious. I'm really mad. Perfect. So you have understand, gathered, come together. Impatient, tired of waiting. Impossible, can't be done. Believe, problem, needs to be solved. Demand, you have to do it. And furious, I'm really angry. All right, so those are our vocabulary words. So let's be even more specific with what those words mean. So the problem is something that needs to be solved or fixed. Impatient, you're not wanting to wait, you're wanting to do something right now. Believe, to think that something is true or real. So that's how you feel. You think that something's true or real. Gathered, picked up or scooped something up, so putting it together. Demand, to insist upon, to insist on. Impossible, cannot be done. And understand, to know something. All right? So now we're going to work on these words with our triggers. Okay, so get out your piece of paper and something to write with if you haven't already, and we're going to work on our triggers. Okay, as always, you're going to fold your paper into 4 sections so that you have 8 places on each side. So hamburger style horizontally, so that when I unfold it, I have 8 different pieces. You guys should be pros at this by now. Okay? All right, so the first word we're going to use is understand. Okay? So understand. All right, and we're going to use some equations for this. Okay, so we're going to use some equations. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is it's kind of almost like you're listening to your brain. If you understand something, you're listening to your brain and you get it. So we'll say listening plus brain equals understanding. Or understand, excuse me. All right, I'm also going to teach you another word here. It's called schema. You might have heard me say it a few times, but a schema is this knowledge that you have in your brain and how you can build upon that knowledge. So use your schema often. So schema plus knowledge is going to equal understand, because if we build on that knowledge, it's going to help you understand. All right. So the last one we'll do is language plus talk. Because if you know a language and you're able to speak that language, you're also going to be able to understand that language. So think about, you all can speak and understand English. That is the language that you speak. Some people might also be able to understand other languages if they speak them with their families or anyone else. So they might not be able to understand Spanish or Italian or German. So there's lots of other languages that people can understand. All right, so the next word we're going to work with is gathered. All right, and for gathered, we're just going to list some things that you would gather, people you gather with, examples. So, for example, you would gather some friends. You gather with family. Of course, this is in more of a normal year and really shouldn't be gathering too much right now, right? You might gather together some leaves in fall. So think about how you make those piles of leaves to jump in the fall. You might gather around the Christmas tree. So that's something we just kind of did with our loved ones. So you gather around the Christmas tree, come together there. You might gather at playtime and play with your siblings, or if you're at the sitters or just wherever, you might gather some things for playtime. Gather some people there. All right, so the next word we're going to work with is impatient, and we're going to do an analogy. So like our bridge map. So an analogy. Okay. So something you might be impatient at. So what's something you might be impatient at? Some of us might have been a bit impatient for Christmas to come, right? Back a couple weeks ago, we might have been impatient for Christmas to come. We're tired of waiting. We couldn't wait anymore. But you could say your impatient is to Christmas as patient. So think about a time you would have to be patient and kind. Let's say maybe at school, waiting in line. So we'll say in line at school. Obviously, we're virtual, but in a normal year, you would be waiting patiently in that line. So impatient, you're impatient on Christmas, just like you're patient in line at school. So that's an analogy. All right, let's talk about impossible. All right, we're going to do examples and non-examples. So we have examples and non-examples. We're going to make our T-chart. All right, so let's think of some examples of things that are impossible, things you cannot do. They cannot be done. Let's say it's impossible for people to fly. I'm just going to put fly. People can't fly. You can fly in airplanes and things, but people can't fly. It's impossible to eat a house full of candy bars. How about that? It's possible to eat a house full of candy bars. That would be crazy. It's impossible for animals to talk. I wish, right? We've seen lots of cool movies where that would be really cool. All right, so it's impossible for animals to talk. So you can think about something else to add, something that is also impossible. Now let's think of some non-examples, so things that are possible. It's possible to go to school or learn online and participate in school. It's possible to play. It's possible to be positive. I love this. Kind of wanted to add that too. It's possible. Even when things are crazy like this, it's possible to be positive. All right, so think of some other things you could add that are possible because they're non-examples of impossible. All right, talk about our other words. So the next word we're going to talk about is believe, and we're going to do this as an acrostic. So believe. All right, so we're going to think of words or things that we could associate with the word believe. Now remember, believe is to think or feel that something is true. All right, so things that work with that word, believe. So if you believe that something can happen, you really hope that it can happen, right? So I'm going to put hope. Okay. You know, we just had Christmas, so of course we believe in Santa Claus. I'm using the L for that. You might believe that something or someone is beautiful. That is how you think or feel. There's a chant if you've ever been to a basketball game or a football game and it's getting really close. There's this chant that's like, I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. And you're like cheering on your team so that you might believe that you will win. You might believe in love. We all believe in love, right? That's another thing that you feel. So that's a good one. Let's use the word feeling because believe is a feeling. It's what you think or feel. All right. And let's think of something for B, something that we believe in for B. I believe it's really nice to send Valentine's, so thinking of a holiday that's coming up here in a couple months. So I'm going to put Valentine's because that's something I believe is nice, so I feel that it is nice. You can change and add different things to yours if you want to put different things that you believe in. So things that are on there. All right, so let's talk about our next word, problem. This one's going to be really easy. We're going to do it as a symbol. We label this as acrostic. I just want you guys to be able to learn those and recognize those. This one's going to be a symbol. So symbol is how something represents something. So remember, we've used a dollar sign in the past as a symbol. So for a problem, we're just going to do a question mark, right? Because it's something that needs to be solved, a question. It needs a solution. So that's our symbol for the word problem. Pretty easy for that one. All right, so now we're going to do demand. So think of demand, if someone's demanding, they're bossy. So we're going to think of sentences or phrases. So I'm just going to put phrases as our trigger. So thinking things that if someone's demanding, things that they might say stop. They might say quit. They might say move. They might say get out of the way. And notice we have all these exclamation points. Just because someone's demanding, it doesn't mean they're being too excited or shouting, but usually it does. So we have all these exclamation points to show that excitement. Say, get out of the way. Say, give me. Give me it. Something. So you could add some more phrases to that. So anything that's demanding or insisting on it, you have to do it. All right, and our last word is going to be furious, and we're going to use a sketch. I'm sure that's your favorite trigger to use. You're just going to draw a person who's really angry, right? Because remember, furious is really angry. And you might even, if you've ever seen cartoons or something where someone is angry and they have like smoke coming out of their ears. I want to do that. It's really squeaky pen. Furious, angry, very angry. All right, so those are your vocabulary words for click, clack, moo. So practice those motions and look out for them when you're reading in the story and use these triggers to learn those words really clearly. All right, friends, have a great rest of your day.